From storytelling, including a scene where Finn forces two people to kiss each other, to Gotcha being all about Turtle Princess seducing boys with her turtle lumps, these are all the Adventure Time episodes that had to be banned. For starters, there's storytelling. This is easily the most censored episode in Australia and the Philippines. In this episode of Adventure Time, Jake gets sick and Finn does everything he can to make him feel better. But Jake isn't content with Finn's made-up stories and wants a real one that has everything: romance, fighting, suspense, and a happy ending. So Finn goes on a wild journey through the forest, causing some chaos among the forest animals and even getting himself locked up by a wizard. Yikes! But he comes to the rescue and saves the day by offering some heartfelt advice to the creatures. But after all of that, Finn catches Jake's sickness and falls asleep. This episode was heavily censored due to the scene where Jake pukes soup in Finn's face. So gross. The scene was cut out in some places and just shortened in others. The episode also had another scene which was cut because it involved Finn trying to make Bubafina and Mr. Fox kiss, and then forces them to. Yikes, I can see why it was removed. This entire scene was cut in Australia and the Philippines. Even Bubafina's line, "Because I'm now soiled," was cut in the UK and Netflix France, as well as removed in reruns in Spain. In total, 2 minutes and 42 seconds were shaved off in Australia and the Philippines, which is a huge amount considering the whole episode is like 10 minutes at most. But that's far from the only episode that was banned in places. There's also The Creeps. In this specific episode, the gang goes to a haunted house for a costume party. At first, it all seems to be fun and games, until things start to get freaky. The house starts shifting and twisting, and poor Finn is right in the middle of it. Later in the episode, it turns out to be a prank. But there was definitely something sinister lurking in that house. Fans were left wondering about a ghostly lady who appeared out of nowhere. Who was she? And what did she want? Now, the interesting part was this episode was deemed so creepy that Cartoon Network Australia only aired it as a Halloween special. But some countries went a step ahead, and it got completely banned in some places like Cartoon Network Asia and the UK. But some of its clips still show up in ads here and there. Though, was it really so terrifying that it deserved to get banned? I don't really think so, and the same can be said for this next episode. It's No One Can Hear You. Just like The Creeps, this Adventure Time episode is infamous for being creepy AF. Poor Finn is left wandering the Candy Kingdom in a wheelchair, wrapped in a cast from his waist down. What happened to Finn, you may ask? Well, a stag jumped on Finn's knees and broke them. Ouch! This specific scene was so brutal that Australia decided to completely shave it off before airing the episode. But that's not even the worst part. Oh no, far from it. You see, everyone was missing, vanished without a trace. And to make things even weirder, Jake seemed to be babbling about a birthday party that may or may not exist. What happened with that stag that Finn struggled with? How much time has passed? The mystery deepens with every passing moment. This episode proves that Adventure Time can terrify and shock right from the beginning. Though there are a ton of other episodes that were deemed inappropriate. Take Jake vs. Meemo, for example. The plot of this episode revolves around a tiny assassin, Meow, who's trying to assassinate Wildberry Princess. Jake accidentally exposes her plan, and she threatens to kill him unless he completes the job. Jake, along with Finn, tries to outsmart Meow by tricking her into thinking that he has killed the princess. But Meow discovers the ruse and injects Jake with poison. Jake, with the help of Finn, comes up with an innovative way to detoxify his body and survive the poison. The plot contains scenes of violence and mentions assassination and poisoning, which might be disturbing for younger audiences. And so, it faced a lot of controversy. It's even banned in some countries. And I mean, I get it. Assassination plots and themes like straight-up murder may be a bit too much for kids, you know? And while Adventure Time has definitely touched on some mature themes here and there, at the end of the day, it is a kids show, right? That's also why this next episode was banned. It's the Ghost Princess. Okay, so this episode is pretty intense. The story follows Finn and Jake as they venture into the graveyard to find clues and figure out who killed Ghost Princess. Along the way, they meet some pretty interesting ghosts, including Clarence, who turns out to be the killer and Ghost Princess's lover. There's also some grave digging and treasure looting involved. But don't worry, Finn eventually convinces Jake to return the stolen items. But still, the plot does have some pretty dark themes. Because of this, Ghost Princess got banned from airing on Cartoon Network in Australia and the Philippines due to its murder, death, and sexual undertones. It's also got supernatural elements that are apparently too unacceptable for viewers. Even the UK didn't want to show this episode. Talk about being too hot to handle. And you've just got to hear about this next episode because it's insane! Yep, I'm talking about Dream of Love. So in this episode, Finn and Jake's day of fun turns into a love triangle when Tree Trunk's secret admirer, Mr. Pig, confesses his love for her. As the two share their affection publicly, Princess Bubblegum's concert turns sour with disgusted spectators, causing Finn to intervene. Mr. Pig and Tree Trunks try to keep their love hidden, but Finn becomes fed up with their public displays of affection. Eventually, Mr. Pig and Tree Trunks are separated, but after realizing their love for each other, they reunite with a dramatic kiss. Apparently, this episode was too much for Cartoon Network Asia, so they banned it from being aired. This episode was chock full of sexual references that were just too much for the network to handle. But that's not the end of the story. The episode did eventually air in Cartoon Network Philippines, but only after a few years. It was aired in Australia and the UK, but some of Finn's lines were completely changed, which is sort of what happened to this next episode too. That's a glitch is a glitch. In this episode, the series takes a sci-fi turn. The animation transforms into an old-school style, and the entire episode starts glitching out. But what set this whole thing in motion was truly horrifying. Finn and Jake received an email in the form of a floppy disk. Innocent enough, right? Wrong! The disk showed a girl eating her own hair. Can you imagine? And then, to make matters worse, a virus kicks in. This moment is hands down one of the most disturbing scenes in the entire series. And, to make it even more unsettling, it was based on a real-life YouTube video that's just as hair-raising. All these facts made the scene really disturbing. This scene was decided to be shaved off worldwide, except Brazil, and even they didn't show the whole scene. Instead, they shortened it. This wasn't the only thing that was censored, though. Even the 3D opening and endings were censored in Latin America, for some reason. The censorship also included a small and weirdly sexual conversation between Ice King and Princess Bubblegum. There's one other episode that's just gotta be mentioned on this list, and that's Gotcha. In this episode of Adventure Time, Lumpy Space Princess writes a book to help Turtle Princess attract boys with her turtle lumps. What? But, upon seeing Finn, Jake, and Beemo playing bocce ball, Lumpy Space Princess decides to write her book about Finn instead. She then commandeers the Adventure Secretary job opening, trying to seduce Finn with her lumps throughout the adventure. You can already see where this is going, right? Lumpy Space Princess ends up getting trapped on the other side of a portal full of mirrors, causing her to panic and believe that Finn has turned into a monster because of her powerful lumps. Finn and Jake defeat the monsters and explain that they were sent there by Princess Bubblegum to destroy the magic mirrors. In the end, Lumpy Space Princess realizes that it's what's on the inside that counts and writes a book entitled, I Wrote a Book. The ending seems pretty wholesome, but the problem is, this episode is in no way for children. Cartoon Network Asia refused to air an episode due to its questionable content. And it gets worse! While Australia, the Philippines, and the UK let it slide with a few scenes censored, Brazil cut out the part where Mirror Finn takes off his shirt. And that's not all. Lumpy Space Princess tried to seduce Finn by dropping her dress strap and saying,
Oh, my shoulder strap! Oh, my orange juice is coming out!
What were the writers even thinking? The episode was way too sexualized for a children's show. So, from Gotcha being all about Turtle Princess seducing boys with her turtle lumps, to storytelling, including a scene where Finn forces two people to kiss each other, those were all the Adventure Time episodes that had to be banned.